Good afternoon. I've moved all of my stuff in. I'm just about to go get some shopping. Officially, I can't stay here until Monday, but as you can probably see, I am feeling very relaxed and comfortable here. The top's off. It's quite warm in here, but I just thought I'd give the place a bit of a christening with with the t-shirt in the washing machine. But on a serious note, I wanted to talk about an aspect of the broken prisons topic I covered a bit of yesterday. I've been prompted by a comment that was made regarding privatisation, and this is something that I've also looked into during my last sentence. I look into a lot of things when I've got time on my hands, and this was one of them. It's not easy to get much information in prison, but there are always ways, and I had friends that helped me, sent me books, articles, and stuff like that. So here we go. The main, it's not a big story this, but the main thing about privatisation is it doesn't appear that it's worked out very well, excuse me a second, in the UK, or rather the prison service of England and Wales. I'm not really sure why, but I'm glad, and this is why I'm glad. American jails are privatised, nearly all of them, and what has happened, this is the kind of case study really for the Western world, is that since privatisation began in the States, prison numbers have rocketed, and that is because you have taken a social aspect of people and populations, and you have created an industry out of it. And of course, it's a capitalist venture, and the fundamental nature of capitalism is constant growth. Capitalism doesn't work unless there's a constant growth trajectory, and that means that constant growth in the prison service means that you need more product, i.e. prisoners, to sell the privatisation ethos, if you like. And on top of that, you have, with the relatively small amount of private jails in this country, you would find, if you looked into the details, you would find that there are a lot of people in positions of power who are invested financially. I believe possibly Theresa May and her husband are involved in private prisons. I'm not knocking Theresa May. I thought she was actually a decent person fighting a losing battle when she was PM. But I felt like, and you don't get this feeling a lot from politicians, I felt like her heart was actually in the right place. Anyway, the point is, if you privatise jails, it's in their interest to fill every cell 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, because the prison gets paid per capita. And while you've got that captive audience, you can then sell them all the products that you supply, such as canteen, clothing, and so on and so forth. And so the people who own and run private prisons it's in the interests of their shareholders that those prisons are rammed full, and if they're not full, they will be contacting the Home Office and saying to the people there, we need more prisoners, put more people in prison, we need more prisoners. Why do you need more prisoners? Because our shareholders need their dividends, and our MD needs his fat pay packet, and so on and so forth. So that is the worrying nature of private prisons. Of course, people who are in prison generally deserve to be there, but the trouble with deserve to be there, and then you've got an omnipotent force like a private prison saying, they're almost going to be saying, well, we're not really too fussed about whether they deserve to be here or not. We deserve to get money, and because we are an industry. So that is, on a sort of fundamental basis, the reason that I would be very, not personally worried, but worried in general, if the private prisons had kind of taken off. Fortunately, for whatever reasons, they haven't really, and I'm not sure they're going to. I think those that are now, I mean, some private prisons have been taken back by the government. Certainly, I remember reading about one fairly recently, certainly within the last 6 months to a year. And maybe private prisons and their kind of investors are bailing out themselves because they're finding that they're not really making the huge amount of profit from people being locked up as they hoped. There's probably an element of that in it as well. I can give you the benefit of what I know about private prisons. This is interesting actually, because a lot of the guys I've spoken to on my second sentence who came from private prisons to wherever it was I was, they've said that, they run really quite well, the regimes are good, they don't get locked up too much. And I asked what the kind of negatives were, and they said, well, it's not really a negative, but there are no screws on the wing. They might have one screw locked behind a gate to attend to everybody there. A wing, one spur of a wing might have as many as 90 or 100 people on it. So it's good for the private people, that run and own these places, because less staff means less outlay, less expense. On the other hand, it means that all the prisoners get a shit deal, can't get anything done. Even as prisoners, there are certain things that we have human rights to, contact with our family, stuff like that. And if you've got one screw on a wing covering 100 people who are all usually in their time unlocked from their cells, trying to get something done that they need an officer's help with, how's that officer going to help 100 people in, say, a 2-hour association period? So that means you each get, less than a minute each? 100 over 120, whatever the fuck that is. Or 120 over 100. You do the maths. They get about 48 seconds each, something like that. And in 48 seconds, that's the rough amount of time that it takes the average prison officer to pull their finger out of their nose when you're talking to them. Just my thoughts on private prisons. I've never served time in one, but I did do my research and I know a little bit. I'll be back, guys. I'm trying to sort out this bullshit with subscriptions to lives. When I've done that, I'll start doing live.